Imagine for a moment you're an astronaut and you've got a football with you in space. Can you play a game? This isn't a whimsical query, it's a serious scientific conundrum. To even begin to tackle it, we need to think about some key principles that govern our universe, like gravity and air resistance. But don't worry, we won't dive too deep into them just yet. Before we can answer that, let's understand a bit about space and its conditions. Space, as you might know, is a vacuum. It's nothing like the environment we're used to here on Earth. Now imagine trying to play football in this environment. It's a whole different ball game, quite literally. The most noticeable difference would be gravity, or rather the lack of it. On Earth, gravity gives the ball weight, making it drop to the ground when kicked. But in space, the ball would continue in the direction it was kicked, indefinitely. Then there's the matter of air, or the absence of it in space. Here on Earth, air resistance slows down the ball, curving its path based on how it's kicked. However, in the vacuum of space, there's no air to resist the ball's movement. So a kicked ball would move in a perfectly straight line at a constant speed. So if we were to kick a football in space, it wouldn't behave as we expect it to, but that doesn't necessarily mean we can't play. So, what would a game of football in space look like, you might ask? Well, it would certainly require some significant adaptations. First, let's consider the players and the ball. In the vast expanse of space, without gravity to anchor them, they'd have a tendency to float away. So we'd need a way to secure them, perhaps with magnetic boots or some other form of tethering. Next, we'd have to rethink the rules of the game. Without gravity and air resistance, the ball wouldn't arc and slow as it does on Earth. A simple kick could send it hurtling into space at high speed, never to return. So we'd need to create boundaries, maybe with some form of force field. Also, maneuvers like running and tackling would take on a whole new meaning in zero gravity. Players would need to learn new techniques, turning the game into a sort of ballet in the void. It might not be football as we know it, but it could be a whole new game that's just as exciting. So, back to our original question. Can we play football in space? Let's recap. The lack of gravity and air resistance would definitely affect the ball's movement, hurtling it in straight lines rather than the curved paths we're used to on Earth. But with some out-of-this-world adaptations like tethered players and balls or magnetic boots, a space football game could become reality. The answer is yes, we could play football in space. It might be a different game than we're used to, but it's definitely possible.